sign. Personnel changes, status change for Auditor Recorder's Office Sarah Badger from Auditor Recorder Assistant Real Estate Lead to Assistant Auditor Recorder Real Estate full-time from $23.75 an hour to $24.50 an hour effective March 17th, 2024. And approved new hire Marshall County RN for Sheriff's Department Sarah Epperson, full-time RN, $31 per hour to start on or after March 18th, 2024. And that is the end of the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have the motion and the second. Do we have any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Heil,
Yes.
Velasic,
Yes.
Hibbs,
Yes.
Number 7, approve State of Iowa Alcohol Beverage Division License Renewal, CP3 LLC DBA Collison Par 3. Do I have a motion to approve?
I would make a motion to approve State of Iowa Alcohol Beverage Division License Renewal, CP3 LLC DBA Collison Par 3, effective date 4/1 of 2024.
I'll second that.
Excellent. We have the motion and the second. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Heil,
Yes.
Velasic,
Yes.
Hibbs,
Yes.
Motion carries on to number 8, Marshall County Band Shell discussion and possible action.
I think this is my cue to come up.
Yes.
Okay.
Come on up. Thank you.
So Deb Millizer, Director of the Marshalltown Central Business District, located at 34 West Main, here in downtown Marshalltown. I'm here to talk about the band shell today, and I can show you by my notes that I was going to say this before the sheriff was here. So first of all, I want to say that I love the atmosphere of your meetings. They're very welcoming. You all are very approachable, so I appreciate that. There's 2 things that I wanted to thank you for besides your time today. One, I wanted to thank you for your support of the Marshall County Sheriff's Office, and it is written on my paper, Joel. For those that don't know, Joel is my husband's boss, and I will tell you that because of your belief in the Marshall County Sheriff's Office and your budgetary things that you have worked on, I know, because my husband's a lieutenant there, and he's on call a lot, and he has to rotate overtime and looks for staff and all of that. His life has gotten easier, which means my life has gotten easier at home too. So I appreciate that. And again, I can prove to you, I wrote it down before I even knew the sheriff was going to be here. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Yes,
and then
thank
then the other thing I wanted to thank you for was you have a board right here in the middle of your area here for the Marshall County Memorial. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm on the design committee, and I am super excited that Marshall County decided that we could do this. Also, as the director of the Marshalltown Central Business District, I think that this is a wonderful welcome to our downtown. As you know, I do the banner project, and I've always had an appreciation for our vets. But when I have got to visit with so many, their families, hear their stories, it gave me a greater appreciation for what they have given, what their families have given. And I think this is only right, that this is on our courthouse lawn, and that it is a focal point, a welcome to our downtown, and I love the momentum on it. Because sometimes, we're working on projects and it takes so long because there's so many steps to it. But this project here, Kevin and I talked about this last year, and I think last fall, I think it was. And then, he's doing great on the fundraising and all of that, and gives me updates nearly every day. So Kevin's a great guy. So I want to thank you for that. I mean, not only for twofold. Thank you for allowing us to have it on the lawn. Thank you from our vets, and thank you from the district, because this is a wonderful thing to have in our district. So I know I have limited time, so I'll just work out with that. Okay. So then what I'm here today to talk to you about is the band shell. And I'm gonna, before I get to the band shell, I'm gonna tell you where my thought process came from. So yesterday the skating rink came down over on 1 West Main Street. And as you know, as you probably know, that was a partnership between Marshalltown Company, Park and Rec, City of Marshalltown, Iowa Wild, and right before, right after it was discussed where it was going to go, I got tagged in on the project, and I was able to get Alliant Energy to donate the lights. Raycom donated a camera for up there so we would have security, and then there was like many other organizations within the county that donated their resources to do that. Unfortunately, yet fortunately, we've had a mild winter, so it didn't get used as much as we wanted to. But that left me with, okay, so we have lights here. The city had given me permission to leave the light poles up because that was a big investment from Alliant Energy to do that. I have festoon lighting to go up there. That lot is for sale by the city of Marshalltown. We don't know when it's going to get sold, but I want to do something with that lot that brings foot traffic to the downtown, community enhancement, gives us an opportunity to have music in the downtown. And I was like, what could we do? Well, I'd like to hold music there, and that gets me to the band shell. So the band shell, I understand that the county has owned it for 20 years, since like 2003. I realized that it was a fundraiser initially by the Rotary and then other organizations like the Thai Foundation and all of those that are listed on the end of the band shell. I also know there's some barriers in the community to use the band shell. I know it's a lot on the Marshall County resources. I think Lucas loves the band shell in every positive way. And I have had a preliminary talk with my board, and I think that if the Marshalltown Central Business District was able to obtain the band shell, that we would be able to not only utilize it publicly in the downtown on a more regular basis, but I also think that through volunteerism and community partnerships, that we could make it more readily available at a less expensive, I shouldn't say expensive, but a lower price, so that other organizations could use it more readily. I know one of my barriers as the MCBD director to use the band shell is we are a nonprofit, and we have to raise money for every event we do. So when we rent the band shell, that's a huge cut right off of the top. However, if we were in possession of it, we could use it a lot more often. And the other people in the community. If I had to just wave a magic wand and I could pop everything over on the lot that is over where the skating rink was, which we're no ice skating, but we could do mud wrestling there right now. My dream, if we could work something out, is I would like to, and of course I have to talk to the city about this too, but I can't put the cart before the horse. My dream would be to set that band shell up there, have it wrapped. I noticed that the decals and stuff are all coming off of it, have it wrapped so that it's more artistic. So it doesn't just look like a box sitting in our downtown. Some light landscaping around it so it can be pulled out for like the Oktoberfest, or say like, I'm a State Center resident, so I go to State Center. If State Center needed to use it for Roast Festival or something like that, that we could do that. But then I've also had a preliminary conversation with the Art Alliance about sponsoring some music in the downtown. I would also like to see music in the downtown over lunch hour, maybe once a week, things like that. So I have a lot of dreams, kind of like this memorial. It started out with a conversation and then it's just moving really fast. That's kind of my thoughts on the band shell. It's like, here may be an opportunity. Can I capitalize on it? And can I get something done? So I'm here today to ask you if you would consider rehoming the band shell to the MCBD.
Excellent. Well, thanks for all that you brought to us so far. I think we know that the band shell's been a lot of work for our staff to have to deal with, and so we're definitely not opposed to looking to getting rid of it. From our
I said rehome, I cleaned it up.
getting rid of it from our responsibility. But at the same time, I think there is that responsibility we do have as how it was originated with the donations and all that to have its beginning. And so I think the key thing I'm thinking is wherever it's housed, if it's housed with you, you mentioned it that State Center would need it for the Rose Festival, and there's other out in the county organizations that have used it before. Not a ton, but some. My hopes is that housed with you, that it's something still available for that. And I know that's used some out at the fairgrounds as well.
Yes, so I have had some conversations with Lucas, some with Nan, checked on insurance, things like that. I understand it has to be pulled with a 3/4 ton pickup truck. I happen to have a board member who is all gung-ho on it. In town, a 3/4 ton pickup truck. In the county, it needs at least a ton truck. I think if this is something that is made more available, less expensive because it's driven by volunteers, I think that I could create a partnership with the communities that we're going to use it, that they all have big trucks. They can pull it. And I have a volunteer team that is designed, well, we would want Lucas and is it Cody? And some of your crew, give us some training on it. And I would like to train a group of volunteers that can rotate through it, so that they know how to set it up. So and I was just throwing State Center out there because that's where I live. I don't know what they're planning for Rose Festival. I live there, so I should know what's going on in their main street, but I'm concentrating on our main street. So my idea is if it has some light landscaping around it on this lot over here, that could be moved and it could be pulled. I would either partner with the other communities that, their big trucks could pull it over there, have our volunteers go over to set it up. Of course, we would have to charge some kind of fee because there's still maintenance on the band shell. I know that there's been some newer hydraulics put on it. We went and kicked the tires, looked at it out at the sheriff's office. Has decent tires on it. I know that there's been a few other upgrades. It needs new lights. Needs some general cleaning. It needs new graphics on it. I think that I can work on sponsorships to do some of these things. I very much want to make this available so other people can use it. Now, I am a nonprofit, so I have limited resources. So it would have to be partnerships we would have to figure out a partnership on how to get it done. But I would love, okay, so I live in State Center. I would like Rose Festival to have their band in the band shell versus on a flatbed trailer. I would like that. I know that band shell was like $100,000 when it was purchased. I know that it's 21 years old now, so it doesn't have that value anymore, but it has a lot of value to the community. And I really do want to honor those that did put in all the work to raise that funds. That's not a drop in the bucket to be able to raise that money. So I want to honor that, but I want to give it new life. I want to give it new life and make it available for more people to use.
Excellent. Lucas, do you have any comments at all on this? Be helpful.
Yeah, I have a few, I suppose. Lucas Becky, Buildings and Grounds. The band shell has been, Deb touched a lot on. It's a great resource for the community. We charge kind of a flat rate for it, and that's really just to kind of cover some of our man hours. It takes a fair amount of man hours to set this thing up and move it around, and Paul's department moves it, when we go basically anywhere other than downtown with it, and having that volunteer basis to help make it more affordable for, other groups to use. There are a lot of times where a nonprofit will want to use it and they come to us, and our general theme has been the rate is the rate. I'm sorry, we just need to cover our costs. And really the $450 that we charge per use doesn't really cover our costs. But I would love to help train somebody new to use it.
Jarrett, I just have a couple of comments and maybe a question for Deb. So I just want to be clear that the Central Business District, Main Street, would own the band shell, would take ownership of it. Is that correct, Deb?
That's what I'm asking.
Okay. And I like the idea that it's maintained and kind of given new life, as you said. I like the idea that it would be maintained as a community asset for not only in the Marshalltown proper, but also in the county communities as well. I'm wondering if it's maybe worth a conversation with Jordan just to say, I think, there might be a need for a legal transaction, so sell it for
We have
$1.
to sell it for $1.
And it's owned then by Main Street Central Business District. What do you think about that?
I'd already talked to Deb about that we would have to sell it for $1.
She did. She did. I'll back you up, you did.
And she thought she could swing that.
I think I could swing that. I might have to write a grant, but I think I could swing it.
Yes, Jordan's in here as well, and he agreed with that assessment.
And the insurance surprisingly is not terrible when we look that up.
Oh, I was so surprised that it for the liability insurance on it. I mean, I won't have to write a grant for that.
No, it's a reasonable, I can't remember what it was.
It's like $100 for the year.
Yeah,
For liability insurance,
yeah.
so that's very doable. And I would need to charge for other communities to use it, because if something breaks on it, you have to have a fund to be able to repair that.
You
and
do
do all of
tires,
that, and
when you're
tires
pulling it
and all of
places,
those things.
yeah.
So I would, but I think that and these are just, I didn't want to come up with a complete plan, put the cart before the horse. But I think that informally, I have talked to my board, and they're interested. They're interested in it. They see the dream. They see that it can make it happen. One of my board members was like, well, not only can I pull it, but I know this person will pull it, and they'll train to do it, and they'll take pride in doing it. My promotions team is like, oh, we could do so much more if we had that. So, yeah, I mean, so, we had some questions. Lucas did a great job communicating with me and answering my questions. We would, of course, want some training and maybe some pictures while he's doing it, so that we all know how to do it. It's not that hard. Okay. So yes, do you have any more questions for me on my thoughts that I have ran through?
I don't think so. I think this is a great idea. It's the purpose of government is managing a band shell really the purpose of government? Well, it can be if it's necessary, but in this case, I think it can be run better with your group and a group of volunteers. So that just makes the most sense, I think, especially for a band shell. The only thing research I'll probably want to do first is verify that there wasn't any intentions from the initial donors and when it was all put together. So
Jarrett,
there's something in there I'm missing.
Jarrett, I have some history on. I mean, I think, and I'm sure there are others in the room who remember, that project was a project of Iowa Valley Leadership. That was a class project in conjunction with Rotary, who partnered with them to raise the funds for it. So I don't think there would be a problem with making the sale at $1 to the Main Street District, because I think the original intent would be honored. And I was a member of Rotary at the time that was done.
Okay. Well, good. I didn't think there would be any issue, but I hadn't done my historical research on it yet.
It's okay. It's good. It's good. So I would, whatever your recommendation is, I would need to take to my board. I have a board meeting tomorrow, and I'd hope to talk about it tomorrow with them to have a formal vote based off whatever your recommendation was, before we could move forward or not move forward.
Does any official action need to be done at this point to continue this, or
Do you want a motion today?
is it necessary at this point? I mean, I think.
I'm looking to Jordan to see, I think,
Well,
are we willing to sell?
I would be willing to make a motion pending approval of your board, Deb.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would make the motion that Marshall County sell the band shell to Main Street Central Business District for this sum of $1, pending approval of their board and arrangements to be worked out.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item this morning?
4. Pending. Between the two of us, we'll have it right.
Got that motion there?
Yes.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Heil,
Yes.
Solosik,
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much today.
Thank you.
All right. On to Resolution 2024-10, approving appointment of Sarah Badger to the position of Assistant Auditor Recorder Real Estate in the office of the Marshall County Auditor Recorder. Whereas due to the opening of the Assistant Auditor Recorder Real Estate position in the office of the Marshall County Auditor Recorder, there is need to appoint a replacement, and hereby resolve that the Board of Supervisors approves the appointment of Sarah Badger to the position of Assistant Auditor Recorder Real Estate in the office of Marshall County Auditor Recorder effective March 14th, 2024. Adopted on this 13th day of March 2024. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
I would make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-0010, approving appointment of Sarah Badger to the position of Assistant Auditor and Recorder Real Estate in the office of the Marshall County Auditor Recorder.
I'll second that.
We have the motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
This position has been open for a while, and due to somebody leaving the county, and Sarah has gained lots of job knowledge in real estate, and also having our fun here with the board too. So, her being the assistant allows her to sign in my absence. Having more people that can sign is good, especially when this week is ISAC and we've got lots of people going to be gone. And so that kind of necessitated doing it a little. I was going to put it on the end of the month because I figured this out over the weekend. And then, so this was another Monday morning thing I threw at her this week because I thought we'd have nobody here to sign things. So,
Good deal.
but she's doing a great job.
Yes.
Sarah, do you feel like you're up to this?
I think so. I think I can handle it.
Very well. All right, we have the motion and the second. Do we have any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Heil,
Yes.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes.
On to number 10, approve Highway 14 detour agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation. Authorize the chair to sign. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Paul Geilenfeld, County Engineer. This is a detour agreement with the DOT for a culvert that they're gonna replace that will be on Highway 14 between 290th Street that goes to Ferguson and 280th Street that goes to Haverhill. In that mile, there'll be a culvert replacement that will happen this September is what they're anticipating. And they would like to use 290th Street from 14 over to 146 and as the detour that would go up 146 up to 30 and back over to get to 14 for that time period. And this agreement just lays that out. There are a few code sections that lay out the compensation. There's some compensation to the county for this, and it's all laid out in code, so it's not really anything to negotiate. It's just the way it is, and I don't have the numbers. It has to do with the traffic of 14 that they're putting onto our detour, and the condition of the road it's fine. It's up to the task. Other than you see that first bridge west of Ferguson. That bridge is on our program, and it is not one that we route overweight permits on. So I've included in this agreement that they cannot run overweight Highway 14 loads on that detour.
Paul, how long is this going to be?
It's the month of September is what
The whole
they're
month.
anticipating, yes. Now I know that's tough to say because all of these schedules are dependent on weather, but since it doesn't rain in Iowa anymore, it's no problem.
Excellent. Any other further questions for Paul? Thank you very much. I'll entertain motions to approve the Highway 14 detour agreement.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve Highway 14 detour agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation with an estimated period of September 2nd, 24 to September 30th, 2024. Authorize the chair to sign.
I'll second that.
All right, we have the motion and the second. Any further discussion?
I'll need to know if we'll have any partners from our state DOT enforcement with that extra traffic, going through those speed zones. Ferguson area.
There's nothing listed in the agreement, so it's just something we would have to take up with vehicle enforcement.
Any other further discussion? All right. Roll call vote, please.
Kyle,
Yes.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs,
Yes.
Thank you very much. On to number 11, public forum. Time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on this agenda. No action will be taken on any of these topics brought up in public forum. The podium is, you didn't leave, so you're just going to keep rolling.
Yeah, I've got, last meeting I brought up to speed on what we were proposing, what Alliant was proposing with Canfield and the closure of a rail crossing. And since that meeting, I've spoken with 3 farmers in that area that do use that crossing for ag purposes, and they would be absolutely against it being closed. So I have let Alliant know that we are not interested in improvement of Canfield for the purposes of them putting a substation on that property just north of the tracks. They have some other options in the area, and there's things that they could do that would not involve improvement of Canfield, and so we'll tell them that that's where we need to head if they want to be in that area.
Excellent. Thank you. Other public forum today. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning, Kim Elder, Emergency Management Coordinator. Just a couple of updates. Update on the siren project. It's been slow go, obviously. But the first week of April, we're going to be going out with Federal Signal and reassessing the areas that were marked, making sure everything's still marked. Hopefully, like you said, it doesn't rain anymore and didn't snow too much, so we haven't had too many places that have been affected as far as our original markings. Once those get remarked, then they will do locates and move forward fairly quickly, so you'll get some equipment off of your property. So, within that, about 20 days after they flag it, we need to get those installs done. So, yeah, so we'll probably plan on rain within that 20 days because if we're trying to get something done. So, yeah, and then just some quick things. We're getting into storm season, so I'm glad we're going to hopefully get those tornado sirens up. I hope we don't have to use them. I'll go into some more details once they are up, but there are some changes to the new ones, and we've discussed that they're a silent test. And so the original legacy, if you will, sirens that are still remaining in the county will sound like they normally do for the test at 9 on Tuesday, unless we have impending bad weather. But those new communities getting new sirens, they will be a silent test. So I didn't want people to panic. They didn't think that they were working. They send a signal back to us, and we can assess that signal silently, which is nice. And then just a reminder to everybody, the Alert Iowa is a sign-up that's free. You can go on, just Google Alert Iowa or go on Iowa Homeland Security and get signed up, and they'll send local announcements and additional weather information that we can send out locally too, in addition to what you usually get. So I think that's it.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Other public forum today.
Nan Benson, Auditor Recorder. Just want to share the scholarship committee that I'm on with Phyllis Perry Halton. We're working on setting up that meeting the end of April, early May, still trying to get the whole committee a date that works, and that is a scholarship that's provided for Marshall County graduates only, and it can be renewed for 4 years as long as it's for undergrad work. And so many students now get so much high school, while they're dual enrolled, that a lot aren't going 4 years anymore. It's really interesting how many are done quicker than that. So that's been interesting watching that process too. But we've used the election center for that previously. I actually talked down to Des Moines if that was, allowed. And I said, if somebody else had a scholarship that was giving out $125,000 to our students, I'd happily let them in there and I'd sit there that night and work. So if somebody else wants to give our students that money, let's have them come forward and do that. So just wanted to kind of make everyone aware. I haven't got a firm date yet because I need to get a hold of one more of our trustees.
Great. Well, thanks for doing that. That's an awesome thing.
It is really cool. It's a great thing that she did on her legacy.
Blaze Word, Marshall County Assessor. I just kind of want to say at this meeting, my border review is looking for a position of a farmer who might be semi-retired because it might help in our time frame. Our border review meets in the month of May, which is typically a farmer's busiest time of the year. So if you're a semi-retired farmer or can spare at least potentially 4 to 5 times during the month of May to possibly meet and help with appeals, you can reach out to me. I have a job posting out on our internet website. I have it with the TR, and I have it out on our board here.
Sounds like for these purposes over here, we're going to get rain. For your purposes over here, we're not.
Potentially.
I think
Who knows what's going to happen?
I think you're very right on that
I'm
one.
about as good as a meteorologist right here. So. Any other comment today? Come on up.
I'm Douglas Honig from State Center. I'm a township trustee, and I would like to say thank you for not closing that railroad crossing on Canfield Avenue. It was real interesting yesterday. I was cutting up trees and hauling brush away, and between noon and 2 o'clock, I would say there was 20 people, 20 different vehicles that went over that crossing. Don't know where they were going, don't know the reason for them going anywhere. Whether they were reliving maybe some youthful activity that was on that road for years past, or what. It's very essential for some of the farmers that have farm ground on both sides of the road. Mm-hmm. It would make about a 3 mile extra to get from south of the highway to the north of the railroad. So anyhow, that's also, I was in attendance of a meeting last week at the community college where there was
Hospital.
Hospital. Thank you, Nan. I got to rely on an old neighbor to help me out. Anyway, I was at that meeting, and they were talking about Marshall County considering it an essential service for the ambulance emergency service. I am in the affirmative of that. We need to fund these ambulance services. And as a township trustee, we are, a lot of townships are to the top part of what that they can do with their levies. And this is something that's bothered me for some time. So I would be in the affirmative of that. Also want to talk about the drainage district. I live on a drainage district. We had a repair this last year. Many years ago when Dick Blonick and Vertus Brockman and Joe Armbricht were supervisors, they started the drainage district fund. And for many years, the county treasurer would post what the funds were in that account. And they never grew. And I was very disappointed with that. I wondered where that money was, but I would talk to the county treasurer, and the county treasurer said, well, that is in a savings account. And I says, oh, well, how come the account isn't growing? Well, my answer that I got at that time is that, well, we can't figure out all those accounts that are in that to divide that out. That's a very simple mathematical calculation. Interest equals principal times rate times time. And you do that but for 1 year. You take that for the number of days that's in that account that they need money. You take it times 365 or 366 and you have the daily interest. And I think it would I was just very disappointed in that. I'm still disappointed in it. And there's no reason. The cost of the repairs today is a lot higher than when the supervisors started that fund. The age of the tile is older, and it's going to be more, it's going to need more repair. Tiles in those drainage districts are going to need more repair. The soil on top of them is not as deep as what it was when it was put in. And heavier equipment going over county tiles is going to make them crush. And so I would like to see some way that account could grow. And I know I'm only one person, but if you don't know that I'm concerned about that, you can't do anything to correct it. So I appreciate that very much. Perfect. And I thank you very much for having an opportunity for an open forum to come and talk to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug.
Me again. I just thought I'd give a little bit more detail on the EMS essential service so I could follow up with what you brought up, good points. So in Iowa right now, unless a county approves it, the EMS is not an essential service. Whereas like fire and law enforcement, you're required to have a response when you get a call out for that. EMS is not a required call out. So that's what you were discussing. We had a meeting a week prior to last week's meeting with the EMS, fire chiefs, myself, public health, and a couple of others at the hospital discussing the future of EMS in the county. So it wasn't really an EMS for essential service, discussion, although that is kind of the way it went. But just discussing our issues with emergency medical services. And just for the record, it's not emergency management. I know we get confused a little because the EM, but emergency medical services and, what direction we're going. We've discussed this since I've been back in the county and even before. My dad was a paramedic all his life and still is actually, but retired. So yeah, he's seen it change. I've seen it change in the last 24 or 5 years. We see it in fire and all the other volunteer side of things, but we also see it on the paid side. It's hard to find people to fill those spots. So that's a big part of it. We really need to look at, and I challenge everyone to look for those that can volunteer in those positions, whether it be EMS or fire. We're dwindling fast on that side. So if the essential services is looked at for EMS, that's something that's really important in my opinion, is to really push on all angles for getting those volunteers, because we only have 3, 4, or 5 if we're lucky per area that has an EMS department, and they're running their regular household and work also. So it would, if it was something that was passed in our county, it would allow for those townships to levy for EMS service funding. Right now that's not done. If they want to put money towards it, they can, but they're not allowed to levy for it. Some departments within the county have dissolved because volunteers aren't there, and then, of course, dollars aren't there to support it. There are Marshalltown Hospital being nonprofit, private. They have their ambulance service, but again, they're nonprofit private. They're not necessarily required to respond to those 911 calls. They stay busy with their transports. That's something to keep in mind. And then State Center does have a transport agency. Gilman is working towards that. LeGrand started that process and wasn't able to push through for the reasons that I mentioned. Volunteerism, they just don't have enough volunteers, and the money. The money is huge. So transport services are slim because we have obviously the hospital, but they stay very, very busy with transports. And then Marshalltown is their backup. I think that's it. I just kind of wanted to give some background. I'm grabbing some data that the hospital presented for those counties that either did pass or have voted against essential services, so that I can, they've already done the background work on that. I'm going to gather that information and actually start talking to them as the EMS association, not as emergency management, so that we can find out, if they passed it, what are the objectives that they have and that they presented to their voters, and then how long does that, how far out are you looking? We're not going to be able to turn it over in a year or even 2 years. It's a matter, like I said, of getting more personnel and where do you put that money and what's that money go towards. So I'd really like to see their objectives in the other counties to see, how it was voted on, whether for or against, what did they present to those voters, and just like to see more information. So just so you know, it's being worked on in the background.
Thanks.
All right.
Any other public comment today? All right, hearing none, we're on to adjournment. The next regular session is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the courthouse first floor meeting room, 1 East Main Street. All business to be acted upon at the session should be submitted to the Marshall County Auditor and Recorder's Office or Board of Supervisors Office by Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 at noon. There being no further business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned at 9:47 a.m. Thank you very much. Make it a great day.